All right, we've wrapped up an incredibly bullish week, another bullish week in the month of September. Even though the narrative for September is that it's the worst trading month in the year, the lowest returns come in September. It's not been the case so far. The September month has been extremely bullish, and we are now back right underneath all-time highs on the S&P 500. So let's recap what's happening and what that might possibly mean. Well, we know that we got one of the very best CPI reads that we've gotten since March of 2021. We know that core CPI actually was a little sticky, causing everybody to back off of a 50 basis point cut and settle on a 25 basis point cut. And so perhaps we've returned to the idea that we are getting a soft landing, a Goldilocks moment where the Fed has actually gotten ahead of inflation and brought it down, but the economy still has some underlying strengths. So we know we're going to be data driven. We know that the Fed is giving us the very first rate cut, and we know that traditionally after that first cut, that the markets will go on a decline in the next 12 months. And we also know that the only reason why the Fed would give a cut at all is because he's expecting an economy that's slowing down, and the rates being up are like applying a brake to the economy. So now he's easing up because he's concerned about the economy slowing down. So that's the basic idea. And this brings us to the question, if we're rallying all the way up to the Fed rate cut, does that mean that it's a classic buy the rumor and sell the news? I personally had leaned towards believing initially when we got into this month that we could dip running up to the Fed's cut and then perhaps rally after that, because more often than not, after a cut, we've actually seen the markets go up. Only 2 out of the last 8 times did they immediately fall. But if we climb before the cut, does that mean that we run a bigger risk of getting that cut on the 18th of this month and actually selling off? Well, I really can't answer that for you. What I can tell you is that a lot of retail traders got it in their head that the markets were going down. They got out of their positions, and largely I also have moved over to cash, not so much because I felt that September would be a bad month, more because the yield curve uninverted as well as the SOM index signaled. And there was a lot of indicators telling us that we are now moving towards a more bearish environment, and nobody knows exactly where the top is going to be. However, in my yesterday video, I gave you a new prediction on the SPY, and I told you what the trigger for that prediction would be, and that would be crossing over the all-time highs that we have now found ourselves right up underneath going into next week. And so first off, I do believe that we are clearly in an uptrend right now, and I do believe that we will test all-time highs, and we could be setting up for a second bull trap. The bull trap is when we get above all-time highs. That would signal a market that's going to continue to climb higher, unless the following week after that, we fall back beneath all-time highs, which we've hit twice. And if we fell back beneath it, it would give us a triple top, which would actually be very bearish. And that could be setting up for the direction that we're going in the markets. And so we're coming down to a place, and this is the takeaway from my introduction, is that we really are going to understand which direction these markets are going in the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to go through next week. We're going to get that Fed rate cut. We're going to see the market's reaction. And depending on whether or not we're beneath 563 or 64 on the SPY or above at the end of the week after the Fed gives that cut, is going to tell us a lot about what to expect between now and the end of the year. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the SPY. I'm going to give you guys the number 2 hottest stock on Wall Street. I really haven't talked about it too much, but if you missed the run-up on NVIDIA, this one has been running up pretty strong, but they've given the most incredible forward guidance confidently out to 2029. And I'll give you the short version of it. They see earnings growing 20% every single year between now and then. which would be incredible. Now, that's a company that's going to be having increasing market share. And I'm going to go over their chart today. I'm going to give you this as a long-term pick. Now, we'll go into the chart and we'll figure out where would be the best place to possibly buy this. And if we do enter into a recession over the next 3 to 6 months, stocks will come off of their high, but they're not going to break down as much as other stocks might break down. So there's going to be market leaders through the entire recession. And you want to begin to pick these in advance so that you can participate in the run-up that will occur in 2025 and 2026. There is going to be another bull run, and I have really never been more confident in my entire life in how much the AI story is going to impact the world. Now, this is a massive AI play, and they've already been a beneficiary, and I don't believe that the market cap and the share price completely reflect the opportunity that this company is going to have. I think 20% growth in revenue is conservative to what we're actually going to see. So far, these guys have popped 74% in 2024 alone, and they're up 300% since their March 2020 lows. So this one in the charts looks like a complete rocket ship going parabolic. And, you know, if you didn't get on board, you might be feeling some FOMO, but this would be one of the ones that I would put at the top of my list to begin to look at taking a position on when we get the next swing low. And everything will always have a swing low, and you want to consider being a buyer on the pullback, but not everything. You don't want to be the buyer on the pullback of a broken stock that's been making a series of lower lows and has been in decline for many years. That's not my investment strategy. But I do want to be a buyer on the pullback of quality stocks that have a CEO that's telling us that they see nothing but sunshine in the future and 20% earnings growth. What company am I talking about? I'm talking about the number 2 fastest moving car on Wall Street, and that's Oracle. Ticker ORCL. We're going to go into that chart. We're going to talk about some Bitcoin news and some overall crypto news. It's going to be a crypto weekend. I feel it in my bones. I'm going to be doing some crypto trading this weekend because I think that we're going to see some serious moves. Bitcoin tends to front run the market. The market ended on a positive note. Bitcoin has been climbing ever since we dipped beneath 54K. And I know what the next target's going to be, and I think it's going to pull up a lot of the altcoins, and I'm going to take you briefly into that chart. This is the Stocks with Josh show. I hope you had a good trading week. Drop me a like, drop me a heart, just say hi in the comments. We had a good week over in the Stocks with Josh Discord. This week, I dropped the initial overview of our 3K to 10K challenge to attempt to convince people to not just follow the trades that I'm going to be dropping on that 3K to 10K challenge, but to really embrace the disciplines of managing their expectation, managing risk, and managing a small account. If you are trying to become a consistent trader, this would be for you. I dropped the first introduction to that in the Stocks with Josh Discord last night. Next week, we're going to begin to take some positions. And so get prepared. I've given everybody over 30 days to get prepared for this. You need $3,000. You're not giving any money to me, but you need $3,000 of your own in your account to properly follow along and to manage risk the way we're going to manage risk in this small account challenge. Guys, I have to acknowledge some of the crowned traders in the ChartGoat University. I didn't shout this out, but last week, Stock Brother, who runs penny stocks, chases that penny stock paper. He had a 300% win in there last week that really didn't get much notice. Some folks who are paying close attention to his channel were able to jump on board with that. But if you're not taking the time to go through each channel, you're missing some huge opportunities. I have to shout out Sniper as well. He's been dropping some really great information and talking about his investments. These guys are devoting their personal time to help you grow. We're going to have another great week this upcoming week, so don't miss out on that. Come check out the ChartGoat University. I'm going to leave a link in the top pinned comment. Okay, I'm going to kick things off. We're going to talk about some Oracle news and specifically some comments from the Oracle CEO. Let me start off by sharing that article with you. S&P 500 posts weekly gain ahead of FOMC meeting. Tech leads climb amid upbeat Oracle guidance. The guidance that was gotten was a CEO that was extremely positive about the opportunity ahead. They recently reported earnings that topped expectations. Then they bumped up their fiscal 2026 revenue forecast. And they said that there's going to be a very strong forecast all the way to 2029. When asked about those numbers, the CEO specifically said that shouldn't be a problem at all. That's an incredible amount of confidence for a CEO to say, nope, the numbers I'm giving you, the upgraded guidance that I'm giving you is easy peasy. In addition to that, they specifically commented that they had on order 131,000 Blackwell cards, pointing to that demand that I've been recently talking to you about on the number one growth story in the world, which is NVIDIA. They're saying that they're lined up, their order is submitted for Q4, and they're just waiting to get those chips, and that's going to be part of their success story going into 2025. And so, yes, we are right at the door of a recession. We're getting ready to pass through it. There's going to be some stocks that get hit and beat up, and you want to identify the ones that are going to do really, really well in 2025, the ones that Wall Street wish they had bought more of. You don't want to buy the top. You don't want to FOMO into them. You want to wait until there's a pivot low and be prepared to buy. And again, I think Oracle is one of those plays. And here's the fact I want you to remember regarding Oracle. As more and more companies are going to be driven to cloud services, these guys are going to continue to grow because companies are simply not going to be able to compete with the larger entities, the big tech companies that are currently building out their massive AI data farms, okay? There's a lot of companies that are not going to be able to do that, okay? They don't have the money to drop $1 billion plus on NVIDIA chips. So they're going to have to be dependent on companies like Oracle and the growth that they're going to provide the general marketplace, which is simply going to increase more and more. There is no longer a question of whether or not going onto the cloud is a choice, okay? This is something that if you don't want to be left behind in the last century, you're going to have to do. And Oracle is a well-run company that's basically telling us in advance, guys, 2025 to 2029, our market share is going to be much bigger than it is today. And so I just see that people are being forced towards this company. Now, there are competitors for sure, but these guys are well positioned, and I think they're going to grow. And Wall Street's already told us that they're a preferred investment vehicle because it's up, like I said, 74% so far in 2024. Okay, let's jump into the chart and see where support and resistance is and what this chart looks like. Okay, first off, this is just a beautiful chart. I mean, not too many charts look exactly like this. I mean, sure, there's been a couple years where there was volatility back here in the dot-com era. And again, we had a massive peak in the 2021 bull run, but this thing did not even come back in 2022. It didn't make any significant low. The pullback recession that we had in 2022 was a massive buying opportunity for this. And I'm going to tell you that I think the same thing is going to repeat again. Now, yes, it's had a massive move up. And yes, we're going to have some sort of a pivot low. And here's what it could potentially look like. But on that pivot low, guys, I think it's just simply going to set up for another opportunity to have a buying move where this thing is going to go up to $200 to $300. Now, right now, if we get a candle, you can see that the price action on the weekly time frame stopped short at $166. So I see that as a resistance line. But if this wants to continue to pump all the way to 194 because the market's going to remain hot, it could easily do that. So watch for the price to pass back above 166 on the daily time frame. If we get a candle to open and close above 166, then in my mind, that's the market telling us it wants to go to 194 sooner than later. And then I think we're going to see that $200 be a psychological barrier, and I think we could potentially see some resistance. But the bottom line is, if you just follow this line out, if we get a chance to get back here, right, 144, and it could be 166 could be a potential buy in the future. So don't think just because this has run up as much as it has, that this is not one to keep on the radar right now. I would love to take leap options and buy the shares on Oracle if we got to pull back to 144. I would be prepared to also be aware that 129 is the next area of support beneath that. And so let's go take a look at the MACD on this. Now, what the MACD tells us is that we are having slowing momentum, okay? But we recently had a little bit of a breakout. So let's say this is our momentum resistance line. Well, we just crossed that momentum resistance line on the print of this candle, which means that we could actually come all the way back up to the top here and make a double top in momentum, easily getting us back to 194. So don't think that the run is over. And you come back here on the stochastic and we see that it's pointing up. And so yes, we could go higher on the stochastic. And let's take a quick peek at the RSI. So we do again see bearish divergence on the RSI. So we see the price is higher, but the momentum is lower. But I will tell you that we are still absolutely in a red hot move to the upside. And there is room for this momentum to continue to climb. Oracle is one of these companies that if the market pulls back, you want to be looking at buying. And you say, well, how do you know that for sure? First of all, I don't. I'm talking about what I'm going to do with my money. But let's just take a look back and compare it to other stocks. Back in 2021, it didn't even go on a long decline. All it did was pull back some of its ridiculous gains that it had occurred in 2021, got back to a baseline, and just has skyrocketed much higher. Compare that to a lot of other companies. Now, I love Tesla, and I'm confident right now that Tesla is moving towards a higher price as we get closer to October. But the fact is that since 2021, Tesla price has been on decline, right? And so when you compare this big tech company to other big tech companies, you realize that there is no doubt in Oracle's future success. So we want to get a good price, and we're going to take the Warren Buffett approach. We don't want to just load up at the top and get stuck with some bags, even though I do believe that the price would eventually move higher than whatever price we're at today. We want to be patient, and we want to let it come back to us, because the idea is that money moves from impatient hands to patient hands. All right. I'm curious if you're an Oracle owner, if you're bullish on it, if you're buying right now or waiting for a pullback. Let me know in the comments section. If you like the video so far, please hit the like and just drop a comment, because that feeds the video out to more viewers for me, and I appreciate that. All right, we're going to talk about the crypto weekend, and we're going to talk about some hot news, and I'm going to take a peek at the Bitcoin chart and let you know what I expect there. But let's cover some interesting news stories. The first positive news story that came out this weekend and is absolutely contributing to a bullish move in Bitcoin is that Laser Eyes, Mr. Michael Saylor, is buying more Bitcoin. Surprise, surprise. He specifically added $1.1 billion to his Bitcoin position. MicroStrategies is one of the top Bitcoin holders in the world, and it seems to me that he's attempting to get further ahead of everybody else. And there's a lot of interesting questions. If he's right about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin one day gets to 250,000, 500,000, a million, he's given out estimates as high as 18 million and even higher. If he's right about that, and I talked with you guys yesterday about the BRICS nations trying to back their currency with gold, there's a big question about whether or not that makes any sense. It makes sense when you're looking back in history, but could it be that we need a new system, a new standard of currency, a new standard of store of value to back currency? And right now, Bitcoin has been significantly outperforming gold, right? We know that at the Bitcoin conference, Donald Trump was there, and he said that he wanted to be buying Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, and using it as a reserve asset. But what happens when companies like MicroStrategy get so far ahead of governments and other people in the world? I believe that when that question ultimately gets answered, we're going to see shifts of power in the world based on monetary decisions that were made today. Michael Saylor is going strong, Laser Eyes, and buying more Bitcoin. Now, the other interesting news story was that the Trump family is getting in on the crypto craze. Donald Trump's gone all crypto, and his two sons are actually starting a crypto bank, I believe. What exactly it's going to do, I've got 3 points of what it's going to do, but I'm going to ask you guys a question here in a minute. But here's what's going on. They're launching the World Liberty Financial Crypto Bank. You're going to be able to store money in a digital wallet. You're going to be offered a credit account system. So they're going to offer you basically credit cards, perhaps that are backed by the crypto that you hold. And they're going to allow you to use tokens to invest in assets like crypto. That last part sounds a little bit like in-app credit points that are being used to purchase something of real world value. So, I have a lot of questions about that. I'm going to ask you guys. And again, I know that people are going to get riled up whenever you talk about politicians. Would you trust Donald Trump with your crypto? Would you trust Donald Trump's sons with your crypto? I will tell you this. It's one more reason to believe that if Donald Trump did become president, I think it could be safely said at this point, after the alignment of his personal financial interests with cryptocurrency, that he is a pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin potential candidate for the White House. But let's go look at the Bitcoin chart, and I'll let you know what I think needs to happen this weekend for this up move to continue. Okay, we've had goals, and all of our goals have been getting completed each and every week. And right now, we need to stay above this 56,464. We've done that. I've told you as long as we were above that line, we were going to continue higher. Well, now the next hurdle that we want to see Bitcoin get above, and we want to see it happen by midnight Sunday night when this weekly candle will close, is back at this line that I've talked about for the last 4 months, which is 60,600. Now, this is also absolutely in line on the weekly chart with the 20 EMA. Okay, so these have just come into alignment. Now, this could operate as resistance, or we could get above this 60,600, above the 20 EMA, and that would confirm the next leg up. So specifically, what I would love to see is I would love to see this weekly candle close on top of 60,600. And I would love to see next week's candle open above 60,600 and not fall below. That's the goal for Bitcoin. If it does what I just said it needed to do, it's going to bring up all of our altcoins. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for the like. Come over to Stocks with Josh Discord and join the community there, and we'll keep the conversation rolling. Peace and blessings. Hit that like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.